Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scouts. Today it's all about Sky Sports Fantasy Football with £50,000 up for grabs for the winner. My name is Joe and joining me ahead of Game Week 31's fixtures is Luke. Luke, how are you?
I'm not bad, Joe. I'm getting over last weekend. Like many of us, I think it was a bit of a tragedy last weekend.
I know, disaster.
Yeah, captains just not really doing anything. I'm going to get my moan out of the way straight away
Okay,
for the first time in since forever. I think it's the first time ever across multiple fantasy games. I missed the deadline, which was Sunday morning. I was working and basically just time got away from me and I was in an area where I had no signal. So normally I've always got that full safe of like, the lineups pop up, like,
yeah.
I've got notifications on Fantasy Football Scout, stuff like that. So none of that stuff came through. But in my mind, I had the first kickoff at 12:30, which obviously was at 12. So I actually turned my phone on to look at 12 bang
Yeah.
on. And just to see that it's saying it was kicking off, I was like, no, because I was obviously going to do Antonio to Lingard because
Ah.
Antonio is injured,
Mm.
so obviously won't be playing.
Yeah.
And it totally made sense to do so because obviously you get the game for Lingard versus Leicester, and then there's that Saturday I think it is coming up
Yeah.
where the only two games were basically Wolves playing that you'd want anyway, and West Ham. So I had Neto originally, but obviously he got injured for the season as
Mm.
well, which was another moan of mine.
Yeah.
So I had no option but to bring in Lingard, even if I didn't fancy him. But I did fancy him because he's
Yeah.
obviously been pretty good. So that was the move. So I was going to do Antonio to Lingard, and then I missed the deadline. So I was like, oh, for God's sake, I'm
Yeah.
going to have to do it Saturday now, and I'm going to miss out on that game. But hopefully, he'll only get 2 points. Of course not. He gets an absolute
Well,
world star performance,
I mean, I had
and
the
it's killed me.
opportunity to do that. Same outcome for me. Didn't get Lingard in. Have Antonio. I had Antonio. I actually moved Antonio out for Alexander Arnold on the previous day, so I was
Okay, yeah.
nicely 11 points up, and I was thinking, okay, Neto's injured. The week will go okay. I've got Alexander Arnold in. That's good. I'm quite happy with loading up on Liverpool. And then I was umming and ahhing. I can do obviously Neto to Lingard, no problem. Shall I do that? And I thought it's Leicester. I same. You did make the move because just of the timing, and I didn't do it because of just dilly dallied. I just didn't think he would get it, and then
Well,
I thought it was,
it was
and I
due to
thought
that
Neto
Saturday.
might get better.
Yeah, there was always the chance Neto could recover, but for me, it wasn't taking Neto out. So for me, it wasn't really. I had no decision.
Yeah,
Antonio. I'd already missed all the days where I could have moved someone. Like I could have gone to Trent Alexander-Arnold from Antonio, and I did actually weigh that up. And when he scored, I beat myself up. I was
yeah,
like, oh, God, I should have done that. But yeah, then having that Saturday, the 17th of April, is Newcastle home to West Ham, Wolves at home to Sheffield
yeah.
United. Well, I'm obviously not going to want any Newcastle or Sheffield United players, and my only Wolves players, Neto, is injured. So I literally had to do Lingard, and I
Yeah.
just missed the deadline.
Oh,
And
frustrating.
yeah, it's just annoying. The first time that ever happens, he hits like, I don't know how many points he got in the end, but it must be close to like 20 points or something.
Yeah.
And some people even captained him. No, I wasn't going to captain him, so I can't
No.
claim to do that. It was always going to be Kane for me.
Mm.
So annoying because where I am, obviously, you've been working extremely hard to move up the ranks, and then that one hit has dropped me. I looked at my rank before yesterday's games, and it had dropped to about 78. So I dropped about 30 places. So that's basically season over now in terms of trying to win it. I mean, I don't think I was going to win it anyway, but it's kind of just depressing to have that hit all in one. And
Yeah.
then obviously yesterday
Oh
I had
no.
Calvert Lewin as captain, and he didn't even turn up. So it was a tragedy of a week, and I ended on about 40. I think I ended up on 42 points. Just got
Yeah.
absolutely destroyed. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I wasn't
Move
going to
on.
win anyway, and I'll move on and
The
hopefully
way
can
you've got to
secure
think
another
about
top
it
100.
is through combination of getting the right deadlines, skill, and a bit of luck here and there. You're actually in the top 100 through those various moves. So for me, I was this time last week. I was 530, 40 something. I went up after Saturday to 460 something, and I thought, okay, and
Nice.
now I'm 610. So
The power of Lingard. I don't know if you noticed, but he went up something like 30% because it was just such an obvious move, and so many people have
yeah,
Antonio. I think he went up about 30% ownership in the top
oh,
1K.
it's just
So
devastating.
it's absolutely devastating. Yeah, exactly. And now, I mean, we're going to show my team in a bit, I think.
Yeah,
But I'm literally, I mean, Antonio's injured. Obviously, he's coming out, and for Lingard,
yeah.
unfortunately, which I was going to do. Neto's out for the season. Rafinha's got a knock. I'm hoping he's going to be all
Mm.
right. And Calvert Lewin missed the game with a
Yeah.
muscle injury as well, apparently. So he might miss the game coming up. So that's 4 players injured. And this is why I've always said about, I've used too many transfers this season, and I knew I wasn't in the running because of that. And towards the back end of the season, you combined with the Man City rotation, people fighting for certain things, and these injuries can happen. Suddenly, you can just get destroyed by it. And another season it might not happen, and people continue, but it's good to have that cushion of transfers. And I think right now is highlighting it. I mean, I'd literally change about 5 people in my team if I had the choice.
It's dangerous to do parallels with FPL. It's a different strategy in Fantasy Premier League to Sky. Obviously, the limited transfers is a key change. But one thing I noticed that within Fantasy Premier League, myself and many other people were wildcarding, and they were wildcarding mainly because of the fixture swing. There was a huge fixture swing in favour of the likes of Chelsea, Wolves, Leicester, and of course West Ham's fixtures remain good. Lingard's form remains good.
Yeah, Arsenal too, you could argue.
So those that did that in Fantasy Premier League did really well. Those that essentially did that in Sky by getting the likes of Iheanacho in, by getting by beefing up their Chelsea contingent, by beefing up the Leicester contingent, looking at Wolves in a non-Neto way, bit of luck there, but also getting Lingard in will have made that move. And so those like us who didn't do that, we slipped behind. So onwards and upwards. I'm not in the running to win it anyway, but I'm still holding out a top 100. But we'll see. Let's have a look at the latest tier 2 and man of the match stars for the week. Man of the match is Cody again. He's keeping mentioned. Dallas, obviously, because he single-handedly destroyed Man City. Maitland-Niles, Basuma, who sadly for me as a Brighton fan is probably not going to be with Brighton much longer, because
wouldn't have thought so.
It's not that he's too well. He is too good. He's just he's going to command a big fee. He's going to be an absolute asset, and he's in that sort of role. There's a lot of teams that are in dire need of a Basuma.
It's exactly that, isn't it? He's the kind of player that's incredibly hard to find, really, that can do a really good job. I mean, Leicester have been very good at finding them in recent years, but he's kind of more of a footballer than some of the ones they've got, even in terms of like you almost think of him as a DM, but he's got more to offer. I think even going forward, someone else might be able to unlock it maybe in a different system or whatnot.
I mean, whoever is doing the Man of the Match awards, whether it's Dallas's mum or whoever it is, are gonna see. Basuma is by far the best player on the pitch. For example, De Bruyne is by far the best player on the pitch with Man City playing. There's things like that. So anyway, St. Maximin from Newcastle, Bowen. So not Lingard, Lacazette, Salah, and Cavani. Now Lacazette, you can understand. Salah, okay.
No. Salah, not okay.
Okay, just because. But I was going to come to this. Salah, okay. Cavani, but it's Bowen and Salah interests me. Why did Salah get it? Is it just because of ownership?
Or is honestly, the Salah one. I mean, I only watched highlights of the game there, so I can't completely say. But in the highlights I saw, he looked pretty bad. Then I looked at the stats, and they weren't particularly good. And then I saw everyone else saying that he was nowhere near the man of the match. But I probably watched I did watch some of the match live. I was just distracted doing other things, and. He wasn't the man of the match. It's as simple as that. I mean, Trent Alexander for the winning goal.
I thought I was in for some rare secret man of the match points.
Yeah, he just wasn't man of the match for me. I mean, he scored, so at least you can kind of, I guess, understand it. But for me, the whole idea of man of the match for me is to give points to players who don't always get goal contributions and stuff. It is literally to reward someone who has had a really, really good game and not necessarily reflected in the points. Now, sometimes that is the point scorer. If someone scored a hat-trick, it's hard to argue that he's not been the man of the match, right? But it's just frustrating, really. I feel like that was a little bit of ownership or laziness almost, but it comes down to that individual match reporter, and sometimes you wonder how much they've watched the game. They have to get these match reports out within about 5 minutes of the game finishing, so they're actually writing it while the game's going on. So obviously, how much are they watching the game whilst it's going on? It's hard to know. It's just not a good system. We've talked about it a lot. For me, he wasn't the man of the match. With the Bowen one, I mean, apparently, and again, I didn't see the game, but apparently Bowen was very, very good in this game and possibly stand out. So I can almost see that one. It's just that Lingard, I mean, the story was there. He had incredible goals. It could have easily been Lingard as well, right? But I'm not too worried about that. I suppose I would be if I had actually made that transfer and captain. I'd be more annoyed.
I was quite relieved, to be honest, when I saw Bowen's name on there.
Yeah, but on that note, I think Bowen's a good option now, especially if he's playing up front.
Yeah.
Because it seems that way with Antonio out, he's filled in up there, and
Yeah.
He's offering a little bit of what Antonio does. Obviously, not got quite the strength, but he's definitely got the pace and the guile. So
Cresswell is injured as well, which Cresswell's could have been an option at the fullback, but he's playing on the left side of back three now, so is much lessened. But nevertheless, his some of those set pieces could be taken by Bowen.
oh right,
So,
yeah, good point. I didn't
so
think of
that could raise his profile there. I'm also not entirely sure who's on penalties if Noble's not on the pitch. So he's playing at the moment, but if for the last 20 minutes or so, it has been Antonio. Lingard's cheekily taken one.
Didn't the manager say he's never doing it again?
Yeah, he's never doing it again.
Yeah.
So I wonder.
I wouldn't be surprised though. I mean, yeah,
Could be
it could be Bowen. I think probably Bowen might be in. Yeah, I mean, it's a decent shout that actually.
Wouldn't be the
Rice is
first.
obviously out as well.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time we've suddenly seen a surprise penalty taker, and that could be it. Passing tier 2, basically, it's the Chelsea and City players.
Every week, yeah.
Every week, quite hard to get passing bonus against Leeds side, but nevertheless, City managed it.
And the Liverpool centre backs didn't, I don't think, which is what we talked about last time. I'm not quite sure whether they are able. I mean, they didn't keep a clean sheet either, so that's when with these Phillips and the like looked like they were good value and stuff, and they still could be, but if they don't get the passing bonus and they ship one goal, which Liverpool seem to be capable of, it's 2 points or 6. So I'm not that keen.
It's value with Phillips. If I need the money, I'll go there because one of the reasons I got Alexander Arnold in was just Liverpool's fixtures are all good. They're good, and I just thought even if I run out of transfers, if I just stock up with Liverpool, I'm going to have good fixtures to the end of the season.
Yeah.
So
I really wanted Trent. I mean, that's it. He offers the extra bit, and he's obviously everyone's talking about him in FPL and stuff for good reason.
Yeah.
Just got a great run and obviously offers that chance of a goal like he did even from open play there, which doesn't happen all the time. But yeah, great pick. And it was really strange because the whole weekend I spent planning, I'm definitely going to do Antonio to Lingard. That's 100%. Neto's probably out. So I'm either going to go him to Trent Alexander or I might go to Mount or Maddison. Then I heard that Maddison's probably not going to play. So it was going to be either Mount or Trent. And I thought, you know what? I'll leave it because I'm not sure on Neto. And if he's back, I won't worry. And then, of course, the two people I considered go and score and do well and get points. It's always the way, isn't it? When you're less aggressive.
And then Neto's out for the season. So
Neto's out for the season. Yeah, exactly. And I go the other way around, and Neto suddenly starts playing, and the other two blank. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I mean, I can't. I'm not going to beat myself up over that, over player injury. Things like that. It just happens. Tackles tier 2. Wan-Bissaka in still that intriguing differential. Peters at Burnley, Semedo at Wolves. Fofana I found interesting though because Fofana's probably my next transfer after Lingard, and then Basuma, just underlying his potential. Saves tier Martinez again. That's why I'm keeping him. I'm not going to waste a transfer getting rid of Martinez. Guita and Meslier. Shots tier 2, Lingard annoyingly, Pulisic, Havertz and Iheanacho. So yeah, I mean lots on my radar there. Leicester, are the main ones. So let's have a look at your team, and I'll run through it, and then we'll see what you can do. You've got Martinez in goal, Azpilicueta, Stones, Diaz, Antonio orange flag, probably red flag at the moment. Neto red flag, he's out. Fernandez, Rafinha knock, but I think he should be okay. Kane, Calvert-Lewin knock, but by all reports he should be okay. And then Salah. So a lot of flags. And as you said, yes. I mean, how many transfers have you got left? I mean, you can't mess around.
I could say now because I'm out of the running, couldn't I? But it's not a lot. No, okay. I'm going to keep it under my hat just in case. Okay. A few mini leagues, but I mean. There's 4 flags I've got there. I mean, Neto and Antonio are obviously the main problems. Calvert-Lewin and Rafinha. I mean, the only reason any of us have got Calvert-Lewin is he's still got another single match day. He's already failed us for one of the captains now. I really hope he's available for that. Otherwise, he wouldn't be anywhere near my team. No. So he's going to stay in the hope that he's still there for that single match day. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense to get rid now. Annoyingly, because I wouldn't really want him. Rafinha, I mean, even though the fixtures are bad, they then get good before the end of the season. He's just too good a value anyway. He's too good a player. He's going absolutely nowhere. Neto is annoying. I'm going to have to get rid of him. He's out for the season, obviously, and I definitely need the West Ham coverage for that. Or I could go Wolves, but I prefer West Ham for that Saturday I talked about. So Antonio to Lingard. So
Yeah.
in my mind, am I allowed to count those 20 or 30 points? Because I would have done it, and wherever I finish, I can add those on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So he's going to go to Lingard, and then Neto. As you can see, I don't have any Leicester coverage. The plan was always to go to a Leicester player. It's either going to be Maddison, Fofana, or Soyuncu, and I wasn't sure which one I wanted. I'm still not sure, but I get to see the lineup this weekend, and I get to decide now. If Soyuncu is back and he's starting, it will probably be him just for that extra security over Fofana. Even though I probably prefer Fofana, but just because of the money difference, really. But it'll probably be a Soyuncu. If he's not starting for any reason, I may just punt on Maddison. I'm not sure how fit he is, whether he's going to make all the minutes, but I've got to try something a little bit different. And although the Leicester centre-backs do get passing bonus, clean sheets just seem to be nowhere near him at the moment. Maybe that will change when Soyuncu comes back. I mean, Amati's been pretty dreadful, I think, so that might be part of it. So yeah, not sure, but I get to look at the lineup. Those are basically my only two planned moves, though: Lingard and a Leicester player. And then I'll just sit for a little while, and then once Calvert-Lewin's served his purpose, I shall probably look to move him on. Who he goes to, I'll be able to afford virtually anyone. So it'll just be who I fancy at the time. I'm not sure at the moment.
Okay, well, let's have a look at mine. Mine's similar, but different. A bit like the latest Fall album, for those that remember them. Martinez in goal, Azpilicueta, Alexander-Arnold, a nice 11 points. Vestergaard, his customary 0 points. Diaz, Neto, Fernandez, Rafinha, and Kane, Calvert-Lewin, Salah there. So my moves, or obviously I'm looking at those 2 single game days for Leicester that are coming up. Is that right? With against West Brom and Palace, so they're amazing. I need to get Leicester.
So West Brom have suddenly turned into like Barcelona.
Yeah, but nevertheless, Leicester's just got to have Leicester, I think.
Yeah.
So Neto to Lingard was the move I should have done, obviously, last weekend, but didn't. So better late than never. That's just easy move there. And then Vestergaard to Fofana. So I free myself of Vestergaard finally and get a bit of Leicester. That will take me down to 6 transfers. So I've currently got 8. I need to do these 2, so that's going to get me to 6. As you said, Calvert-Lewin, he's got to serve a purpose at the moment for those single days. So I'm going to keep him. But I'm looking to offload him in May. Let's see what May's fixtures throw up, and he will go there. But I've got another. I mean, I think I need a bit more Leicester, but I'm not sure what to do. Iheanacho would be one. Sionchu is one. So I won't have that much left over. I'll have, and not sure I want to get rid of anyone else apart from Calvert-Lewin. So I might end up just having Fofana. I would like to have Fofana and Sionchu, but
that'd be nice. Yeah.
Not sure it can be done unless I done
No.
something I don't particularly
Well,
want
before
done.
I had my injuries, that was before Neto got injured. Obviously, Neto was just going to be a season-long thing because Wolves were great season-long. So for me, I had Stones and Diaz. Now, I didn't expect. I wanted to get that extra player from a different team rather than a double-up, and I didn't expect Stones to play. I mean, we got to see the lineups this week and he played, but I think part of that was due to the fact that Laporte was injured. I don't think he would have played if Laporte was injured, personally.
No.
And now Laporte's back. So for me, I always had the plan to keep Neto and move Stones to either double up on the Leicester defence or go Maddison and a defender.
Yeah.
That was always my plan. But now, because of all the other injuries and the transfers I had to use elsewhere, Stones is now in for the season, unfortunately. So he could end up only playing 2 or 3 games left. But I just can't chance take using my finals transfers on stuff like that.
The other thing is, Rob Holding is attempt to just. I think I can get away with no Everton if I go for Rob Holding because one of the clashes is Arsenal Everton.
Yeah, again, he's just a risky player for Sky. He worked fantastically well for me back in
I've not
a few
got the
months
transfer.
ago.
He basically fills in for David Luiz. If David Luiz is back, Holding's probably lost his place, and that will be massively annoying with say one transfer or no.
I'm not sure why that actually happens, to be honest. I think Holding might actually be the better option than Luiz these days.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
at least on results, it seems to be.
Was he on? He's only left-sided centre back currently. So
Gabriel and Mori are the left-sided ones.
sorry,
and
he's only
Holding-
right-sided one. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, the right. So let's move on to the fixtures. Game week 32, a lot of days. So we've got a lot to go for, and we've also got game week 33 in mind, but we'll come to that next week in more detail. Everton Tottenham. I'm going to be captaining Harry Kane. I presume you will as well.
Yeah, not even a second thought. Even if Calvert-Lewin's in the lineup, it will just be Kane. Yeah.
Newcastle against West Ham, Wolves against Sheffield United. I was going to captain Neto against the worst defence in the league. I'm now not. I'm going to have to get Lingard in against Newcastle. I don't know. I think Newcastle have quite a good record against West Ham, and Newcastle at home are a devil. You think they're going to get beaten, but they don't get beaten by a lot.
No, but Lingard's the best player in the world.
But Lingard is he's certainly the best player on Saturday the 17th of April in Sky. I don't know about the world. Sunday the 18th of April, Arsenal against Fulham, Manchester United against Burnley. Fernandes presumably. I think it's a great option, but I also think if you've got Lacazette and Aubameyang's definitely out, that is a good.
Well, we get to see the lineup, don't you?
So that's a great differential there, because Fulham are not adapting so well with the relegation struggle as Newcastle are, and certainly as West Brom are. So they could be the team to target. Monday the 19th of April, Leeds against Liverpool. We've got some choices here. I don't know. Salah, Alexander-Arnold, Rafinha. It'd probably be Salah, but I don't rule out Alexander-Arnold.
No, I'll be on Salah. He's my only real option. I mean, I could do Rafinha, and I think he could do well, but I don't think Leeds' options are the worst. So Bamford, Rafinha, if you don't have Salah, I think you don't have to have him for this game at all, but mine will be Salah, yeah.
Chelsea against Brighton, Azpilicueta for me. I think if you've got the likes of Mason Mount as well, great. Now this is after, if I got this right, this is after the City game, where the FA Cup game. So. And they've obviously just played in the Champions League. So I got a feeling there'll be rotation in this. Looking at the three matches, this looks the least, the most prone to rotation.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be mass, just because they still need, obviously, to secure that top four spot. But, I mean, he rotates the fullbacks, and he's done throughout, or wing-backs, I should say, throughout his entire career. So I think they're obviously prime position to do it. They've obviously got three centre-backs, so maybe one of them rotates, maybe one of the midfielders. I don't think it'll be all across the board, but there will be some rotation. Obviously, you get to see the lineup, so if you are planning to bring one in, that's handy. But yeah, I think we could get unlucky. I mean, I've got Azpilicueta. If he doesn't start that game, I'm screwed. I don't know what I'd do, to be honest. I may have to look at bringing in another Chelsea asset, which wouldn't be the worst idea. But I mean, this Champions League and Cup's going to continue, isn't it, if they're still in it? And it may still happen. I think Mason Mount is still just a good option in general. Yeah. I just think, even in that last game, he looked incredible. Like he was so good. I think he got man of the match, didn't he? He did, yeah. He had shots on goal. Honestly, the amount of times he set up someone who should have scored, and they didn't. He could have ended up with a hat-trick of assists easily. But the problem is they just don't seem to find the net with those opportunities, and he does this quite often. He's almost like that Tadic player in a little way, where he's heavily involved. He's number 10, Eriksen. There's a number of them over the years, although Eriksen did develop that side toward the later stage of his career. So I still think the Chelsea defenders, I mean, Rudiger's still probably a better option, maybe, because they just get so many clean sheets.
I mean, in my third team, which I'm just mucking around with, I've got Lewis Duncan, and obviously rewarded me with the captaincy, nice 18 point.
Yeah, turned out the best captain that week.
In my team that I don't care about, but anyway. And it's that stage of the season where Lewis Dunk plays, he gets tier 2. And Brighton's fixtures, they've got an okay little run of fixtures as well. I just think, it might not be the worst decision just to go for that if Azpilicueta's out.
I think if you look at the lineup and Havertz starts, the way Havertz is playing up front at the moment and getting so many opportunities, I mean, he could have easily scored 3 or 4 goals. He played well, but his finishing was just almost at the goalkeeper every single time. And if he could have just put it to the side or a little bit more power in his shots, he almost tried to be too I don't know. He's always like a Kaka or someone like that, just
Yeah.
trying to be elegantly stroke the ball in, and it
Yeah.
just didn't. That's fine when it goes in, but when it doesn't, it looks like
Yeah.
you've just messed up the
Yeah,
chance.
he's looking really good, isn't he?
He is, yeah. So if he's up front for that game, he's a good punt for the end of the season
Okay.
because we don't have many midfielders with that explosive potential, and he's obviously one of them if he's playing up top.
Next day, Harry Kane again. Tottenham against Southampton. Now this out of the two Tottenham games in this game week looks the best one. Southampton's defence is awful. It's one of the worst in the league at the moment. And Aston Villa against City. So I think we should move on. Harry Kane, it is.
Yeah, we don't get to see the City lineup, do we? So it's
No.
going to be Kane for
Yeah.
nearly the whole game. I mean, if you've got Son, I think he could be
Yeah.
good in this because Southampton do push up the field quite a lot, and we know Spurs will sit deep. So even if Spurs score early, they'll then sit back and Southampton will push up. So the game will be perfect for Son. And if I was willing to take a punt, I'd probably go with him. But
Now, Leicester
Kane's
against
fine.
West Brom, that's where I'm going to be making sure Fofana's in. But now here's something here for anyone who's
You're
got.
going to try and sell me Pereira, aren't you?
There is Pereira, but I was going to actually think about. So say this happens. We get to Friday the 16th of April, the beginning of this game week, Everton against Tottenham. Calvert-Lewin's still out, and it's one of those annoying Aston Villa manager styles. Oh, I'm expecting him back soon, and he just never is. So if that happens, I would then be tempted to move to move another player on and get Holding in and just go for it. Just go for an Arsenal player. Be done with it. Cheap Arsenal player against Fulham. And that means I have then got Arsenal covered in the beginning of game week 33 against Everton, and that would allow me to remove Calvert-Lewin for that Leicester game.
Yeah.
And that would take me down quite dangerously down on my transfers. But my hatred now of Calvert-Lewin after this terrible Sunday I had, and then to compound it all, having Vestergaard and Calvert-Lewin on my Monday was too much. I feel I should punish him by removing
Yeah, well, some
him.
people captained Ward-Prowse and he missed a penalty and got like -2. So
Yeah.
if anything, you did all right. You did par on that day for most people. But no, that's a good shout because if Calvert-Lewin is out for that game
Yeah.
against Arsenal, then moving Calvert-Lewin after he plays against... Well, no, that wouldn't make sense because he'd obviously play against Spurs if he was back. But let's say he doesn't play against Spurs and then, he's going to be out. Then you get to see the Arsenal lineup versus Fulham.
Yeah.
It's not just Holding. I mean, there's obviously a lot of options. Lacazette,
Yeah.
Saka.
Yeah,
Quite a few if you're willing to tempt it. It's risky with them in Europe, but then that gives you a differential captain
Yeah.
almost on Friday the 23rd. Alternatively, you could just wait until Friday the 23rd and have a look who's playing, of course.
Yeah, and also, but on that Leicester, it's more about just freeing up that striker spot. I've got three strikers. I like Kane and Salah. It's Calvert-Lewin I just don't want anymore. And
No. Well, Nacho has been the play, hasn't he? And I keep saying I'm not willing to take the risk because I feel like he might drop out any point when Maddison and Barnes are back. But with every passing week, he's getting points, and it's not looking like. I mean, it looks like if anyone would come out, it'd be Vardy, which is almost unquestionable. But he's just been so good, hasn't he? So I think maybe he just stays in
I
now.
believe that age is catching up on Vardy. I think he's going to have some flourishes this season and next season, but that's all it's going to be. And I think Iheanacho is clearly the one. I mean, he had those stats at City. He was one of the most clinical strikers in Europe at the time. Weirdly, he was kept appearing on these kind of tables. Whenever he played, he took his chance as well. So, he's certainly fulfilling the promise at the moment. So we'll see. I mean, this is speculating at the moment. At the moment, I definitely want Leicester. Definitely want Lingard. If I want to move some remaining transfers and get more Leicester, Calvert-Lewin definitely on the move out. And just for next week, what we're going to do is look at game week 33. That starts on Friday the 23rd of April, and as we said, is Arsenal and Everton is a single game day, so I want coverage of that. We'll see what's that. There's also that other single game day there we'll talk about, which is Leicester Crystal Palace, which finishes that off on Monday the 26th. Let's have a look at some of the questions that we've got from the community. So I'm going to read these neat, so hopefully there's no swearing or anything abusive in them, because I haven't managed to edit them into the notes yet. So Ian Parron, he's clean and he knows his way around fixture table. Ian Parron asks, for those with a few transfers in hand, would you recommend just playing the straightforward captaincy options for the 11 successive fixture days already announced? So this is quite, as he was alluding to, 32 and 33, a lot of captaincy days. Is there a chance that the final 5 game weeks throw in some curveballs and the opportunity for much bigger gains? So yeah, what I was talking about there, do I use these transfers, build up Leicester, or just think, hang it, just leave it for May? I mean, what should we do?
Yeah, it's so hard to visualize. I'm a manager who needs it there in black and white in front of me, and when it's not there, it's hard to plan for it so well. And obviously, Ian Parron's very good at that. If anything, he should be answering this over me. I think apart from Leicester, because they've obviously got those 2 obvious ones right here, you don't need necessarily any of the other ones. These are all kind of like you could do to maybe get an edge. So yeah, I think as long as you've got Leicester covered, saving those transfers, like I talked about at the start, there's going to be some more teams that start rotating because they don't need certain things. We've got injuries coming through left, right. Well, certainly I have. I'm sure other people have, because a lot of those players are highly owned. You will be able to make massive gains in the last weeks. It's no different. It's a little bit different this season, Sky, in terms of the best managers are already up there, but it's not going to be any different where a lot of them won't have very many transfers for the final few weeks, because there's also the pressure they're feeling at the top, where they feel they need to cover the the only one who hasn't got Lingard's basically had to move on to him, right? They've had no choice. They will have had some injuries like me as well, and if you've got extra ones, I have no doubt there will be gains to be made in the final few weeks.
Juzzy P, is it worth bringing Son in by moving out a big hitter like KDB or Salah? Well, I would say if you've got Kane, and Spurs aren't all that great shakes, to be honest, I personally wouldn't bother with that move at all. But would you?
I mean, it's really hard to answer. I mean, I don't think it's the optimal play, but I think if you're second or third in your mini league, the guy in front's got Kane, and you pretty much can't catch him, then dropping a Salah or even a Kane for a Son, and then captain him over the double, and then Son goes mental, then obviously you've got a chance of winning your mini league. If that's literally your only chance, I mean, it's running out. The opportunities are running out, so I could understand it from that point of view. But I certainly wouldn't recommend it to anyone unless it's specific to that mini league or whatever.
Okay. Keith Ledger says, I have Mason Greenwood in his, I believe that's the Telegraph team, for 3 game weeks, and he's going well. But should I give him a run in my Sky team, or just rely on Fernandes for captaincy? So Mason Greenwood or Bruno. So let's just assume it's and as well as to add on. Same principle, I guess. If you're chasing and your rival's got Fernandes, I suppose, could that be a move, Mason Greenwood?
I don't like it. I mean, I like Greenwood, and I get the differential side, but I think after Burnley and Leeds, I don't think their fixtures are that. I mean, they play Liverpool, Villa, Leicester. That's a hard little run of 3 games. They're obviously still in a lot of other cup competitions in Europe and stuff. And then they end with Fulham, Wolves. Well, Fulham might be fighting for their lives. They might be down at that point. You're not sure. Maybe Wolves is a decent game, but we all know nearly every game's 0-0 by half time with them. It's more to do with the fact that Greenwood just doesn't shoot enough. He's very clinical in his shots, but he doesn't shoot enough. So therefore, he doesn't often get shooting bonus. I mean, even in the last 2 weeks where he's scored, he's got 8 points and 9 points in his last 2 games. He got shots here against Brighton, but he didn't get it against Spurs. And he got a goal and assist. But that's rare. I mean, you just go through his points before these 2 weeks, and it's literally 2-1, 2-2, 1-1, 2-1, 2. Now, obviously, that can change, but I don't like players that are prone to that all the time, and he is one of them. So I think there's better options, probably. I think there is. I mean, Iñárritu for a start.
Yeah, definitely. He would be my top target up top. Lee Williams asked for someone who's got 3 City, and he's obviously smarting from his recent blanks with those against Leeds. In his case, he's got Cancelo, Ederson and Diaz. Is it worth moving 2 of them on and keeping just 1 for the captaincy? And if so, who goes? I mean, I personally would keep Diaz and just jettison everyone else myself, but
yeah, I mean, you could argue Diaz, though. We're still of this mindset that Diaz is going to play every game, but if he's being protected from injury because he wants him for the cup and the league, and you could get injured in a pointless game, then it makes sense to rest Diaz in every game, and he did rest him this week. Yeah. So I think Ederson is completely nailed. I don't think that's in question by anyone. So probably the safest play is to keep Edison and Jetson
Okay.
the other two. But I mean, I'm going to keep Diaz. I think nearly everyone else will be. So it's kind of like you're in safe ground there, and you would be quite differential to get rid of him. And then obviously we know Diaz can get 10
Yeah.
points every game he plays. So I'd be tempted to keep Edison and Diaz, and just I'd almost certainly get rid of Cancelo now. The thing with Cancelo, he doesn't seem to be in his best 11 at the moment, which means he might play a little bit more in the league. But again, we're just second guessing Pep all over the place, and there's going to be too many other players like the Leicester defenders that you're pretty sure are going to play every game. So I think it's more than justified to get rid of Cancelo now. And then if you had to choose out of Diaz and Edison, Edison's probably more nailed. So maybe I'd keep him.
But definitely, yeah. I mean, I think for me, I'm just going to keep Diaz because it's just not worth a move.
The thing is, Edison, if he keeps a clean sheet, he gets 9 points because the extra points. Diaz, if he keeps a clean sheet, will get tier 2 passing and get 10 points. So there's not much in it really between those two. Yeah.
Tom Hartnell. Oh no, Steve Wright asks. I don't know if that's the Radio 2 DJ Steve Wright, but in my head it is. Calvert-Lewin to Iheanacho for the West Brom game. Is that worth it? Which is exactly what my dilemma means. Arsenal and Everton the day after in game week 33 would be a skip. So he's thinking of not bothering with Arsenal. Just get rid of Calvert-Lewin anyway for Iheanacho.
Just getting rid of him completely. It could work out easily, couldn't it? But if we know Calvert-Lewin's playing the game and you just won't have a captain, right? That's 4 points straight away thrown away just if he does nothing in that Arsenal game. Assuming he doesn't get booked.
Yeah.
So the player you're bringing in Iheanacho, even if he's captain or whatever, he's obviously got to make up those 4 points in that game alone.
Yeah.
It's a tough ask. It's not guaranteed by any means. So
I personally wouldn't do the move unless I had coverage.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at.
So if I can get Arsenal for that Fulham game, I will. And that would signify an end of Calvert-Lewin. It's not the optimal way to play, but it's just a way of getting rid of someone that has annoyed me.
Yeah. Well, also Everton, they have been pretty good away from home overall. I know they've not been great of late, but their players are coming back. Coleman's back. James Rodriguez is back. I know they had a lot of players out in their last game, but I feel like once their team is fully at it and away from home, they could cause Arsenal problems in that game. I think Calvert-Lewin, it doesn't look like the kind of player that Holding and such would actually want to go up against, in my opinion.
Luke NDN asks on a similar thing about Iheanacho. Should we back the Leicester attack and defence in order to stand a better chance of gains on their single game days, and also just in general, really? Just that. I mean, he's just getting Fofana enough. I don't feel comfortable just getting Fofana. So I think
we've seen this before with the Man City run. I mean, they're not in the same category, but the more Man City players you had over the good run, the better. And if I had unlimited transfers and a wild card right now, I'd have multiple Leicester assets in my team. So if you can do it, then why not?
Yeah, I think I'm with those members of the community there on that. And Tom Hartnell asked a similar thing about Calvert-Lewin, what to do. Sounds like he might be back soon, so shouldn't do anything rash really. But I want rid after this Arsenal game. He's just burning a hole in my team. I mean, I think that is the sensible play. As much as I want to get rid of him, keep him for that Arsenal game. Then you'll get the fixtures for May, and then you can do whatever you like.
Yeah, things change very quickly as well, as we know in fantasy. And right now, when Iheanacho, Lingard, all these players look like they're absolutely 100% needed, but they didn't look anything like that a few weeks back. Go back a few weeks, and Iheanacho and Lingard would have been nowhere near your list.
No.
So, that could all change around again. Sometimes you skip this little hype, and then suddenly there'll be a few new players that no one else will be able to jump on, and you will. So,
and it's also not like Calvert-Lewin's a flash in the pan. He was doing this last season. He's doing it this season. Ancelotti loves him. He's fulfilling that promise as a great number 9, scoring for England. He's not a flash in the pan. So him being a bit injured and not scoring for a couple of matches, as much as I'd like to punish him for that, he's still a good player, and so he still could do well. Arsenal in that Arsenal game, it's not like Everton and Arsenal games haven't been high scoring in the past. I know it's different personnel management, but you never know. So
there's other strikers I prefer. Is it worth a transfer to take out when assuming he's fit? Not for me until after that game. And even then, you could argue you could just leave him in. but I'd like to get rid of.
Well, thanks everyone for your questions. Before we go, a quick reminder, obviously the Fantasy Football Scout members area, do have a look at that, full of useful stats there. And also do press like if you've enjoyed this episode. And remember to subscribe wherever you hear this podcast, and also on our YouTube channel to make sure you keep up to date with our latest videos, which is great. But in the meantime, Luke, thanks so much for your time, and better luck in game week 32.
Cheers, mate. Same to you, and I'll see you on the next one.